to be here today. Probably just heard me press that button. Next, if you need computer-generated captions, there's an icon at the bottom of your screen that you can pick, the little CC icon. Also, there will be time for questions. You can put those in the chat at any point, and we'll stop a couple times to see if there are questions. And Spanish interpretation, live Spanish interpretation will be available today. So let's see, there are two people I want to introduce you to. First is Lisa McIntosh, my colleague from United Arts. She's here to help us today. And then also Veronica Gutierrez is our new friend here at United Arts who will be doing Spanish interpretation. So let's see if we'll get her to unmute and say just a little bit before.
Hello, everyone. For the ones that speak Spanish and need live interpretation, I will be interpreting right here on the other channel. You just have to click on the Spanish bottom right on your screen. Para los que hablan español y necesitan la interpretación en español, voy a estar aquí dándola en... Solo necesitan apretar el botón que dice español en su pantalla. Thank you.
Gracias.
Gracias.
Okay, Veronica, you should be, I think it should work now. Wonderful. Let's keep going. Okay, so United Arts, we do a lot here at United Arts, and just to let you know a little bit more about what we do, we support schools, arts organizations, and municipalities all throughout Wake County. We have our flagship Artists in Schools program for all the K-12 schools in Wake County. We give grants to all kinds of people and organizations. We do arts integration for teachers. We also have a municipal mural program, and we have a Piedmont Laureate program. But what we're here to talk about today is, of course, artist support grants. You are all here to learn more about our artist support grant program. Some of you who've been in the community for a few years may know this program by some of its earlier names. It used to be called the Professional Development Grants for Artists, and also the Regional Artist Project Grants. But we've changed the name. In essence, it's the same program, but now it is called Artist Support Grants. The North Carolina Arts Council was instrumental in kind of restructuring the program, but we are quite pleased to have funds from not only the North Carolina Arts Council, but also the Office of Raleigh Arts and United Arts to be able to support individual artists during this time. In a nutshell, you may apply for up to $1,500. This is for individual artists, not arts organizations or 501c3 nonprofits. It is for individual artists to do a project for your professional and artistic development. The project period is January through December, the calendar year of 2022, and the deadline to apply is September 1st. So just under a month away. Artist support grants are growing, and this is very exciting. A couple of years ago, we were able to award 19 artists. Last year, or the year that we're in right now, we were able to support 62 artists. And next year, we're going to be able to support even more. Last year, we were able to give away about $82,000, and right now it's looking like, fingers crossed, that we will have $100,000 to give to individual artists through this program for the calendar year of 2022. To be eligible, this is open to artists of all artistic disciplines, visual artists, dance, music, theater, literary, any kind, you're eligible to apply. You can be a new artist or an established artist. Both are welcome in this program. It is primarily for individual artists, but if you happen to be a part of a small unincorporated group of artists, you may apply. I think in the current year we have one music group that they're not a structured entity, business entity. They're just individual people working together, and they were eligible to apply to us for funding. You have to be at least 18 years old, and you need to be a US citizen or a permanent resident alien of the United States. For the residency requirements, you need to have lived in Chatham, Harnett, Johnston, Lee, or Wake County for at least 1 year to be eligible. And that can be, so basically from 1 year from the deadline. So at least since what, August 31st of last year, on living in one of those counties to be eligible. If you moved from one county to the other, that's okay, you can still apply to us. We may ask for proof of residence if your application is unclear. And then if you're doing a small unincorporated group of artists, all the members of that group need to meet this residency requirement. Who is not eligible to apply? Okay, if you are a sole proprietor of an organization that already got direct funding from the North Carolina Arts Council, this grant is not for you. Also, current board members and staff members of the host organization. So that's the Chatham Arts Council, Johnston County Arts Council, Lee County Arts Council, United Arts, and also Harnett County government. You are not eligible, and their immediate family members are not eligible to apply for this. So Lisa and I and our children, not eligible to apply at all. This is for the rest of you. Also students, if you are enrolled in school somewhere, this program is not for you. This is for artists who have graduated from whatever level is, that they are at, and you're out in the world being an artist. This program is for you. What will the grant fund? Okay, any kind of project that enhances your skills as an artist, enhances your ability to create work as an artist, improves your business operations, or maybe improves your capacity to bring your work to new audiences. Notice there's a wide range of what is appropriate that we will fund in this grant program. I'll give you some examples. Okay, if you wanted to complete or present a work, maybe you need art supplies, maybe you need space, maybe you need equipment. Maybe there's some sort of training that you need to take your artistic career to the next level. Maybe there's a conference, class, workshop. Maybe you need to make your website better, or maybe you need more things on your website, like work samples or things to capture new audiences, or for your work. Maybe you need transportation, lodging, or food. Usually that is connected to going somewhere to take a class or to participate in a conference. So notice that hopefully as I'm saying these things, ideas are starting to trigger in your mind of really what would help you take the next step in your artistic career. What can we do for $1,500 to help you take the next step? This is a very exciting part. What will the grant fund? You. So up to 50% of the grant can be used to pay you as an artist working on your own project. So if you had a $1,500 project and you wanted $750 could go to pay you for your time spent on that project. What the grant will not fund: no scholarships for undergrad or graduate level education. You may not support or oppose any particular candidate for public office. You may not do a project that's exclusive to a particular religion or person of a particular religious faith. Any nonprofit initiative. By that, I mean, if you are working with a nonprofit organization, your project needs to be separate from them. This is about you. We're trying to nurture you as an artist, not an arts organization. We have other places that we can support them. And then also, we don't support projects that don't support your growth as an artist. Okay, before we move on, are there any questions so far? Anything in the chat Okay, not yet, not yet. Okay, if you remember, if you have questions, feel free to type them in the chat and I'll be happy to answer them. I'll stop a few times and there will also be time at the end. Okay, what will the grant not fund? Oh, excuse me, we already did that. Okay, evaluation criteria. There are 3 very important things that the panelists look at. Number 1, artistic merit. Number 2, project feasibility. And number 3, contribution to the development of the artist's career. You're the artist, we care about your career as an artist. Let's talk about each one of these. So first, artistic merit. Your work samples show artistic merit. This is in the application, there's a place for you to upload your work samples, and this gives the panel an idea of what your work is like as an artist. Is there originality, inventiveness, and or cultural significance in the project that you've proposed? The second, project feasibility. Is your project proposal clear and well organized? Has it shown that you have put in preparation and planning to thinking through your project? Are the goals realistic and achievable? And does the project budget show consideration? It's basically they're looking to see, have you thought about all the parts of this project and they all make sense for specifically you to be a better artist or a more far-reaching artist or whatever your personal goals are. The third evaluation criteria is professional development. So is this project consistent with the applicant's career stage? Like, are you at the beginning of your career and you need to go take a class in something? Like maybe you're a visual artist and you really want to go to Penland and you need to take a class in watercolor or something to further your career, or you've always done small things and you need to go work with a mentor on how to create large murals because you think that, and you're able to articulate why that is the next best stage for your career. That could be a good choice too. Also, is this project meaningful in expanding or promoting your artistic career? Sometimes I tell people that this particular grant opportunity is kind of about being very self-centered. Like you get to focus on you as an artist. We're not asking you to impact children or the public or anything else. We want, what can you do to hone your craft as an artist? Sometimes that is reaching new people and that's fine, but sometimes it's about your craft itself and that's fine too. We just want to make sure that you understand that these are all appropriate projects that we have funded before and we're planning on funding again. Okay, some things to remember. When the panelists are evaluating each application, is there demonstrated talent in an art form? Is there an overall excellence to your work? Is there a clear commitment to a career as a practicing professional artist? That doesn't mean you can't have a job, more jobs that maybe help you pay the bills, because sometimes being an artist doesn't always do that. Sometimes it does, and that's a beautiful thing. But we're not saying you can't have another job, but you need to really have a clear commitment to being an artist in your life. Also, what is the benefit of this project to your growth as an artist? I've mentioned the panelists a few times. We take all of the applications that are submitted and we group them into different panels. And those panels are comprised of individuals from various counties across North Carolina. Most of them are from Wake County, but we have panelists from other places. They are professional artists, they are college level instructors, maybe they are just arts advocates with experience in various disciplines. We pick panelists or secure panelists who are most appropriate for the type of application that they are evaluating. So we would not pick a bunch of choreographers and dancers to go on the 3D visual art panel. Much in the same way, we would not pick a bunch of 3D visual arts experts and put them on the music panel. We try to be really thoughtful and we pick folks who understand the value of the arts and know that quality art comes in a bunch of different, can appear a bunch of different ways, and it all belongs here in our community. The panelists score each application based on those 3 evaluation criteria that I mentioned. And then we make funding recommendations to the United Arts Board of Directors, and that's how it gets awarded. Okay, before I go into the application, are there any questions?
Just one from
Okay.
the artist, just about, can the money be used to pay someone to make the exhibit more accessible, such as like a ASL interpreter?
Absolutely. I would encourage you to make a case in your application of that you want your art to reach more folks. In order to reach more people, your art needs to be more accessible. That is why you need ASL interpreters or any other kind of thing to make your art more accessible to more people. That would be appropriate.
Also, this is about a budgeting, which I think you'll get into later, but they want to know if you say we need to report how much money we plan to invest in our project. Can we include how much money we have already invested in it?
That's a good question, and the answer is no. When we look at the budget, you may have already done some things for your project ahead of time, but we are only interested in expenses that are from January through December of 2022. So for example, if you were choreographing a dance piece and you had already started, like right now, you've already started like picking out music and starting talking to dancers, and maybe you've had a few rehearsals and you already know what your piece is going to be about, but starting in January, you want to rent rehearsal space and pay some dancers and pay yourself and pay the composer. Only the expenses in next calendar year would be appropriate to include on this application.
I think I know the answer, but I'll go ahead and say it. Can you apply for different projects?
The answer is no. You need to do the good thinking right now to make sure you pick your best, most appropriate project to apply. Last year, we got 116 applications and we were able to fund 62. So it is competitive. Do not also compete with yourself because you are in turn kind of competing with the other applicants. So pick your best project. If you need advice you can run ideas by me and we can talk about or help decide which project I think might be more compelling. One hint is that projects that you can actually complete within the timeline are always more attractive than projects that don't end.
I think we're good, Reagan, you can move on.
Okay, we are going to go to the application. And I think, Lisa, will you paste some things in the chat for us? Okay, so now hold on, I'm going to stop. Oh, did I stop? Oh, no, I did stop sharing. I have to share something different. Now I would like to reshare. So I want to share this one. Hopefully you are all looking at Submittable and the United Arts application that says 2022 Artist Support Grant Application in English. So we have this application also in Spanish and the guidelines are also in Spanish. So if you are more comfortable in Spanish or English, pick the application that you're more comfortable in. And the links to both of those are in your chat right now. So Submittable is the online system that we use to accept applications. We've used it for about 4 years now, and it is fairly straightforward. You do need to create an account the first time you log in, but if you have applied to someone else, Submittable is all over the country. You might already have an account, so just know that since so many people use Submittable, it's possible you've encountered this before. Okay, so let's see at the top, very important thing, deadline, Wednesday, September 1st. Keep that deadline. There are no exceptions. When we have more applicants than we have dollars, it helps us eliminate the people who don't follow the rules. So keep that in mind. Okay. I think name, that's you. If you had a, remember I mentioned a small unincorporated group of collaborating artists. If there's a group of you, give me the primary contact person here. But if it's just you, like the majority of our applicants, you can leave that blank. Your mailing address. Your county of residence, where have you lived? Notice these are drop-down menus. So you can pick the county that you've lived in. How many years have you lived there? You can round up or down depending on, you know, I don't need a 2.3 years. Your email address, super important because this is primarily how I will communicate with you. Phone, website. If you don't have a website, some artists have websites and some don't. If you don't, just write NA, it's fine. Social media, if you have social media handles, please list them. And then your artistic discipline. Okay, do you remember how I said that I split all the applicants from last year up into different groupings to figure out which panels? This is basically how I'm going to be splitting up the panels. So if you don't see one in there that is exactly what you do, pick the one that is closest to what you do, knowing that what that means is that you're going to be grouped with other artists, and that's the panel that will evaluate your application. This next section is called demographic information. And I want to say this is optional. Here at United Arts, we do strive to serve all the community members of our area. Usually I say Chesapeake County, but for this particular program, we are branching out and we are supporting other counties in our region. If any combination of words to best describe yourself, and this only helps us make sure that we are spreading out our support throughout the community. Race, ethnicity, gender, sexual identity, disability, veteran. Okay, scrolling down. The next is the grant amount. The maximum amount you may request from us is $1,500. You do not have to request $1,500. If your project only cost $1,000, you're allowed to only request $1,000 or $500, or, you know, it's completely fine. It's whatever makes sense for you and your project. The next question, it says, complete the following sentence. I am seeking funding to support. This is just one sentence that kind of encapsulates what your project is. This is just to help us on the administrative side. One sentence. I need to frame 50 pieces of art for a gallery show I have coming up. I would like to professionally record one album with my string quartet. Like just what I would like to paint a mural on the side of a building in Zebulon. You know, just one little sentence. Next, project description. This is the biggest question on this application. Basically, this is where you tell us what your project is, how this project is important to you moving forward as an artist, and how this is actually going to advance your career or development as an artist. So lots of things. We want to know basically who, what, or the who is you. What, when, where, and why. These are basically the things we're asking in this particular question. The next is the artist statement. This is highly personalized. The directions say, describe your work, artistic vision, and philosophy. So some of you may have this already. Some of you may need to create this. This comes to us in a lot of different formats. And as long as it is true to you, and like, why do you create art? Why do you write music? Why do you dance? Why do you make sculpture? Why do you write poetry? Any of these things, this is where you would kind of fold it into your artist statement. Next is your artist resume. Basically, you know, whatever you have, we said 4-page maximum. Some of you may have something like this already, a CV, a resume, whatever you have, go ahead and upload it. If you don't have something, you still need to create something that gives us an understanding of your artistic experience. This resume will help us understand if you are an emerging artist or an established artist. And remember, either way, we support both, but we do need to understand kind of where you're coming from. So if you have been doing this for, 27 years and your project does not quite coincide with maybe where a 27-year artist veteran would be, that may make the panel ask some questions. So this just helps us understand your personal background related to the arts. Okay, Lisa, before I get into the budget, are there any questions?
Just
Yes.
a couple. Oh, go ahead.
Can you add more than one resume into the resume part, or does it have to be just only one file?
One file, please.
Also, one artist was asking if I have access to the slides from the presentation, and I know we're going to record one and put it on our website, but do you send out the slides? Or
if you're interested in, I can certainly send the slides. So whoever wants that, just let me know and I'll be glad to forward you the slides.
And then also, when you're filling out how many years you've lived in a county, are the years lived in a certain county cumulative or consecutive? Wow, I can't say that.
Oh, okay.
Good
I'm
question,
thinking
right?
it's more consecutive, because if you lived here 20 years ago for like a couple of years and you moved away and like last month you moved back here, you would not be eligible. So it needs to be like the year preceding our deadline.
Right. And they're asking if can a one-page professional bio replace a resume, or do you want the resume format?
The bio is okay if that's what you have, but make sure it includes all of those other things so that the panel gets a full understanding of your experience as an artist. So if you need to add additional information, that's fine. No one's going to judge you on if it's like, it's like flashy and slick looking, like we're looking for content, No, so just make sure it gives the information to help the panel understand what you're about or what your experience has been.
I think you're good to move on. It looks like, Reagan.
Okay. Okay, project budget. I went ahead and just entered in some stuff in here so you guys could have some numbers to look at, but usually all of this is blank. So I entered in these numbers right here. Okay, so I pretended that I'm a writer. I'm pretending. And what I need to do to take my writing to the next step is I need to finish my novel. And there's a writer retreat, someplace great that is very affordable at $700. So I've entered it in here, $700. Then I need there's some mileage for me to get there. Let's pretend it's in South Carolina or something. And then I need some mileage to get there. So I added in $50 for mileage. I need to pay myself. I'm allowed to pay myself up to 50% of the grant. So I put in for myself, I would like to pay myself $750 of this grant. And then while I'm at my writer retreat that does not include food, I need to eat while I'm there. It helps me be a better artist. So I put in $250 for writing. Now, excuse me, for food. Then down here under income, remember you can ask for up to $1,500. Now, $250, this project cost a little bit more than $1,500. So I said, you know what, I'm going to pay for my own food, but I'll go ahead and put it in. So the total cost of my project is $1,750. I want $1,500 from United Arts and $250 I will cover myself. See how the expenses match the income, and they were all things that would conceivably take place in 2022. That's how it came up. For budget documentation, this is basically like how, in my example, I would probably, like this writer retreat probably has a website with some fees attached to it. I would just print out like one of their cost sheets and attach it to this application so that the panel can see that, oh yeah, it does cost $700 for a week there or something. And then that is about, you know, however many miles away. I can see that that makes sense. You do not have to have any sort of documentation to cover the artist fee that you're paying yourself, because basically we'll just assume that it's like half of your grant. It needs to, excuse me, it needs to be included in your expenses, but you don't have to provide documentation of yourself. I hope that makes sense. Okay, moving on to work samples. No matter what kind of artist you are, we need to see or hear work samples. So dance, music, theater, writing, visual art, craft, film, whatever it is, we need to see. So notice that web links are preferred. So if you actually have work samples all over your website and you just want to give us a link to your website, you could do that. But maybe you don't have a website, or maybe like the things you're the most proud of aren't on your website, you could upload them. And if you need to upload a file that's not listed here, reach out to me, because I can add more file type options if you would find that helpful. Just let me know. So yeah, you could uploaded work samples. Also, what are these work samples? Is this a piece that you composed over the pandemic? And so it's kind of new? Or is this a piece that you performed in January of 2020 at Kokobuth Amphitheater or whatever? Just help us understand what we're looking at. That's what the list of work samples means. It's basically like, what are you giving us? And if you need to include a short summary to give us context, you can do that. Okay, moving down. These next two things are optional. See, supporting documents are optional. Letters of recommendation are optional. If you think that there's a particular supporting document or a letter of recommendation that would make you or your project that much more compelling to the panel, then definitely upload it. But if you don't, then you don't have to. This is, okay, an example might be, I am a muralist and I want to paint a mural on the side of a building in Zebulon. Well, maybe a supporting document might be a letter from the building owner who says, I would love for this artist to paint a mural on the side of my building, and I am the owner, so I could give permission. That might be really helpful. Let me think, a letter of recommendation. Maybe if you are an emerging artist and you've gotten some sort of feedback that maybe to help you go to the next level, and you have some sort of mentor who could maybe provide a letter of recommendation saying this really is the next step for this artist, that could maybe make sense. But like I said, this is not required. It's only if you think this will make your application or your project that much stronger and compelling for the panel. Okay, and then that's the end of the application. How cool is that? Okay, are there any questions about the application before we go back to the slides?
There was not, but now there is. Can we begin the application, then log off, shut down our computer, and then come back in the next day to finish a day or two to finish the application?
Yes, Submittable allows you to do that. In fact, when you start an application in Submittable, I don't see it at all. I don't see anything until you hit submit at the very end. So you would just log back into your Submittable account and it would let you pick up where you take off. But I'm glad that question was asked because it reminded me of something. Do you guys see here on the screen this little red star right here? It's on this question. Let me scroll up. It's not there, but it is there, list of works. That little red asterisk means that it's required. If you go to submit your application and for some reason it's not submitting quite right, go back and make sure that all those with the little red star, you have uploaded something, or Submittable will not let you submit. And because I don't see it until you officially submit, I won't even know that you were trying. So that's important. Lisa, are there other questions?
Oh, you've done a great job, Reagan.
Okay, so now we are going to, I'm going to stop sharing this, stop share. I'm going to reshare and we're going to go back to our slides. There we go. Okay, moving on. Click. Okay, I said a little bit of this, but just to say it again for the project budget. Your expenses must occur between January and December of 2022. If your project is so huge that you have already started work, that's completely fine. It's just that this grant won't cover it. This grant is only for things, the expenses that happen during 2022. Remember, up to half of what you request from us can be used to pay you. So this is you getting paid as an artist. So that's a win. Your budget should be consistent with the project as you've described. Just make sure that I always like to say that when you're writing a grant, the numbers and the words are telling the same story so that the panelists understand exactly what you're asking for. And you don't have to spend your own money. If your project costs more than the maximum grant amount of $1,500, you will need to find other funding sources. But it doesn't have to cost more than $1,500. You could find a very specific chunk of your project that makes the most sense for you. Okay, work samples. You get to pick the work samples that you want to represent you. So give that some serious thought. What is your best work? Maybe, they do need to be recent, in the last couple of years, but like maybe the work you finished last month is not as strong as the work you finished 6 months ago. Those would both be appropriate for you to upload. So just, you can just be thoughtful about which ones you upload. Strong work samples. It would be helpful if they are relevant to the project that you have proposed. Occasionally, that's not exactly possible. Like you could say, I am a bassoonist, but I really want to do this album with this djembe player. But maybe you don't show us, your work sample never shows a collaboration with a totally different kind of instrument. And so we're not really sure if you have any experience. But maybe you have a work sample that shows you collaborating with a totally different kind of artist, and that's exactly what your project is. That would be a good thing to upload. Samples need to be of your work only. Please do not upload some strong, awesome work sample that does not belong to you. And within the last 3 years. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of time to find the work sample that you're most proud of and relevant to your project. Okay. If you receive a grant, these are things I just want to say out loud so that they're in your mind. I will email notifications in December. Actually, if you don't get a grant, I will also email you in December, but email is the way I communicate. You will enter into a contractual agreement with United Arts. Once you've signed your contract within a couple of weeks, we will give you 100% of your grant money. And then as you implement your project, you need to properly acknowledge the North Carolina Arts Council, the Office of Raleigh Arts, and United Arts. All of this will be specified in your grant contract should you be awarded a grant, but I just want to say it out loud now so it's not the first time you've heard it. Your project must be completed by December of next year, and a final report will be required. I will give all of those details later. I just want to plant the seed. So I'm going to stop screen sharing and ask, let's see, first, Lisa, are there any questions?
Yeah. Okay. So about, wait, where did it go? You changed it and then I lose my chat.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. So she wants to know, is the list of work samples a basic visual description of the work or about the meaning of the work?
It could be either.
Yeah.
I'm not, there's no steadfast rule for that, but at least I have given you these 5 works and here are the titles of the 5 works and maybe when they were created. And if you wanted to give us context, because that makes your application stronger, that's fine. But no, we're not expecting you to write a paper about each of the 5 works, for example. You don't need to, you could just give us a little bit of context about how that work maybe relates back to the project you proposed, if it helps your application.
And this is a question also, if the money is spent in 22, but the exhibit is in 22 and 23, is that okay?
Yeah, okay. So if you needed to, you had like 25 pieces of art that needed to be framed for, or something for a gallery, for an exhibit that was happening later, that's okay. That actually is happening right now with one of our current grantees, that he is a sound artist, and he worked on a thing, but now it's actually getting, in Durham, it's going to be installed there for a month or so. And so it's kind of extending, but all the expenses were already paid, and the majority of the project is done. Now, you may want to reach out to me if your whole goal is working toward a due date that is not within 2022, that would be potentially problematic. But if it is an extension of your project, then that would be okay. If that doesn't make sense, reach out to me personally and we can talk about that.
And also, do you need to know your other sources of funding when you apply?
If you know them, sure. Because it might be really, like, if you already have some secured sources of funding that just make your project look that much stronger, then go ahead and include it, because it's just going to make your application that much stronger. If you say, if you had a $30,000 project and you want $1,500 from us, and you're like, I'll find the rest of the money somehow, don't you worry. Well, the panel is probably going to worry, because that's a lot of money. So I think it kind of depends on how much we're talking about. If you only need a couple $100, and you're actively seeking other sources of funding, then probably. But if it's a significant amount, maybe not.
And one artist was asking if you could go over the slide that excludes religious affiliation again.
That's more about the project itself. If you have a project that is only for people of a particular religious faith, that means you are excluding members of the community. That's not the kind of project that we're interested in supporting. So it's about being inclusive, not exclusive, is the nature of that.
That is all, unless somebody else wants to chime in. That's all I have in the chat, Reagan. I think.
Okay.
I don't think I missed anything.
Let's see if we can get Veronica. I'm going to bring you back to us, Veronica, okay? And then maybe you can, hey, Veronica, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah.
Are there any questions in Spanish?
I didn't check the chat, I'm sorry. I couldn't check the chat.
If Lisa didn't see any questions in Spanish, then I think we're probably good.
I think I would have seen it.
Yeah,
Okay.
you probably have. I just can't do it both.
I understand. I totally understand. Okay, well, I hope that you all found this helpful. If we are going to make the recording available online. And if you have questions right now, just let me know. Otherwise, thanks for joining us today.
Y si no, muchas gracias por habernos acompañado hoy.